Hey guys, DC Multiverse dude here, coming at you with an early review of the new DC Multiverse Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom King Kordax action figure from McFarlane Toys. Big thanks to McFarlane Toys and Head Start Toys for providing this sample for review. My initial impressions of this figure when I saw it was that he looked really cool, really crazy. I was impressed with the sculpt, but I had no idea who this figure was, right? Like, King Kordax doesn't ring a bell. I did some Googling and then I remembered, yes, there is a character called Kordax from the Aquaman history, and he's sort of an ancient Atlantean or something like that. And he had blonde hair and, it looks absolutely nothing like this figure. I have no frame of reference of this figure. I have no expectations, really, and I'm going to be judging it on its own merits. Obviously, we haven't seen the movie at the time of this review. I don't know how important he is in the movie, but, first things first, he looks quite cool and interesting in the package, and quite tall too. The packaging is nothing exciting. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, King Kordax, and on the side. And on the back, we have that sort of comic-inspired depiction of the character. Now, you'll just notice right off the bat that his trident is meant to be in that spot there. I have opened it and I've removed the trident to use for my Black Manta review. If you watch my Black Manta review, you'll know why I needed to remove the trident for that. So anyway, I'll open the rest of him now and let's have a look at what you get in the box. So here we have King Kordax out of the box, everything that comes in the package. Let's get the obvious out of the way. You get the standard DC Multiverse display stand. We've seen it 40,000 times and it's the same as ever. We get the trading card, which has again that comic-inspired art. And here's the bio on the back. And it describes Kordax here as a huge brute and true conqueror. He dons ceremonial armor and wields a powerful magical dark energy that could ultimately prove deadly to both sea and surface dwellers. Tells us nothing. Sounds like he's a bad guy, straight out villain in this movie. But again, that's all we have to go on. Finally, we have this trident, this black trident, which in the trailer, I think we see Black Manta using this trident. And so it's safe to assume that at some point in the movie, either King Kordax gets the trident from Black Manta, or I think more likely Black Manta gets the trident from Kordax. And that'll be a plot point. We'll have to wait and see. I just don't know. So it's a cool accessory. I've had a look at it in my Black Manta review, but this is where it really belongs. There's not much of a wash or anything on this, so it comes across as fairly plain, but it has those nice sort of little ridges sculpted into it. It's got a nice shape to it, kind of looks ancient. I think a wash would have gone a long way to making this look more realistic. At the moment, it looks like a toy accessory, and it's in contrast to the figure, who's quite detailed and has a decent amount of paint on him. This just looks a bit flat. But anyway, let's take a closer look at the figure. So here is King Kordax holding his trident. Unlike many other figures, it actually fits in his hand perfectly. You don't need to heat it up with hot water, at least I didn't. He looks pretty good with it. He looks complete. It's nice to have a figure that has all its accessories and feels complete, but there you go. First impressions are, this sculpt is, it's incredible. Like, despite having no affinity for the character itself, and, this design not necessarily being my cup of tea or something I feel strongly about, I just have to admire it on its merits. Like, this is a hyper-detailed sculpt. This is the stuff that McFarlane really loves, and you can tell that he's passionate about. Anything, freaky, gothic, monstrous, gross, hyper detailed, that's his bag, and you can tell. And I found with the movie figures in particular, McFarlane seems to put a lot of budget energy into really capturing details. I don't know whether that's like a contractual obligation to spend more budget on the figures that are meant to promote a movie or what, but the movie figures are always hyper detailed with new sculpts and great paint and details, and sometimes we don't see that with the regular comic book versions of characters. And I don't know what the reason for that is, but it's mildly frustrating when I look at a figure like this and I see all this new sculpt work from top to bottom, and then I think about the recent Supergirl, which, while I thought it was an okay figure, it was a reuse of the Nightfall Catwoman mold, and you can see my review. There's some glaring problems with that figure, and it's Supergirl, a really important character in DC. So anyway, it is what it is. Back to King Kordax. You'll see this head sculpt is incredible. Lots of sculpted detail all over the place. And there's been this sort of light green wash, which kind of gives it some texture, brings it to life. Some brown paint in the cracks there brings that sculpt to life. The teeth, you know, look disgusting. I wish he had an articulated mouth. I think maybe a mouth open expression or at least an articulated jaw would have given him some more personality. But, you know, given that he's got no real sort of eyes, I think that would have gone a long way to bringing him to life. But anyway, the back of the head, incredible. It's got all this sort of coral seaweed detail. This is all sort of softer plastic. There's a lot of soft plastic on this guy. You can tell why, otherwise all this would just break. Yeah, it looks great. That travels down. There's like a collar piece. These pauldrons, soft plastic. You can see that the white sort of, or the light green wash is applied to most of the figure. That beautiful sort of belt and tunic, or whatever you call it, has a wash on it as well. Looks excellent. All the way down to his knees, legs, shins, feet. There's sort of a wash all over it. I wish we saw this more often with McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures. A wash just really brings a character to life. And if you compare it to, you know, where there's no wash, like on this hand, you can see how dead that feels, how plain that feels by comparison to all this. So yeah, you know, well, it's interesting. There's actually a brown wash on that hand. Oh, yeah, there is on that hand too. I'm a liar. There's a bit of a wash, but it's very subtle. You can tell that where it's less paint, it just looks more toy-like. And where there's that wash, it just really, the detail just comes out. The back is similarly detailed. And check out this cape. From what I can tell, there is no paint on this cape. It is just molded plastic, but look at the wrinkles and look at the texture and look at like the folds down there. Like this is not quite statue-like, but it's pretty detailed and it's pretty awesome. And you know, this is just a unique sculpt, unique tooling for, you know, what might be a nothing character. I mean, I haven't seen the movie. Maybe he'll be really important and really awesome and memorable. But like this sort of random Aquaman villain just gets this awesome sculpt. Yeah, it's crazy. But like, yeah, the design itself, I'm 50-50 on, but the execution of it, having not seen the movie, if this is accurate, great. But even just on its own, it's gnarly the amount of effort that's been put into this. And if the design speaks to you or you see the movie and you think it looks cool, I think McFarlane's knocked the aesthetics of this out of the park. In terms of articulation, it's kind of better than you would expect, I guess. Like the head spins right around, which I wasn't expecting. He looks down about that much, up not too much, just because of the headgear. Like this prevents him from looking up too much. Tilt, you have a little bit of tilt, not too much. The arms are where there's a bit of limitations. You can probably guess that these pauldrons here prevent you from doing a T-pose, so you can't get his arm much more than that, but you can do like a full rotation like that. Double jointed elbows. Thank you very much. Like, you know, he can scratch his own chin. He's got a swivel and a hinge on the hand, so you can get some nice gestures. I like the gesture hand. I think it looks really good. In terms of the diaphragm, you actually get a surprising amount of ab crunch. Not much back, but a decent amount forward. More than I think you would need for a figure like this. Not a hyper athletic sort of a character. Waist swivel all the way around 360 degrees. At the diaphragm, he'll go 360 degrees at the diaphragm too. So, you know, very flexible in terms of side to side, you know, more than you would think. Now, initially when I saw him, I was worried that this tunic piece would hinder the leg articulation, and it does, but not as much as you might think. So he can do the splits about that much, which I can't imagine why you'd ever want this figure, you know, posed in like this sort of pose, but there you go, you can do it if you want. Forward kick, if you push it, you can get almost 90 degrees. Again, more than you need for a figure like this, who's obviously meant to be sort of like a big, imposing, slow moving, I'd imagine, guy. Knees, double jointed, can almost kick his own butt, quite impressive. There's obviously no thigh cut, and there's not much of a swivel there either, so you're not doing much there. Feet are on that standard ball joint hidden by the sculpt, but you know what that ball joint does by now. Side to side and a rocker, toe articulation. You won't get much forward movement, you know. It's a bit stiff around the feet, but again, you know, for the figure, for the type of character he is, I think the articulation is actually really, really good. The arms I wish would go a bit higher, a bit more of a T-pose, but I think given the design, what more could McFarlane have done? I'm not sure if there's a solution for that. And any sort of dynamic posing is going to be hindered by this cape. Like, you kind of can't have him, I don't know, kneeling down, I guess. The cape will get in the way. But I think for what you might want to do with him, you'll get him into basic combat poses. But I think for most people, this is kind of be one of those characters that kind of just like stands there looking evil, looking awesome. And he kind of does, you know? So yeah, let's do some comparisons and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. First comparison I want to do is with the two Aquaman figures in his classic costume and his stealth suit costume. Both great looking figures. Please check out my review. Let me know what you think of them. I like them quite a bit. I think they go really nicely with Kordax. The scale looks right. Haven't seen the movie, but you know, Kordax is quite a bit taller, which seems correct. They look really cool with their tridents. Kordax is black and Aquaman's is gold. And yeah, I think, you know, you could do some really dynamic sort of battle scenes with these guys, particularly with Aquaman, who poses quite well. Yeah, I think they look really, really cool together. And here's King Kordax with the Aquaman 2 Black Manta figure. Check out my review of this figure on the channel. I have complicated feelings about it. I actually really like it in many ways. But of course, you remember that my biggest frustration was that Black Manta didn't come with a trident, which, you know, in all the art and in the trailer, he does have a trident. This trident, in my opinion, both figures should have come with a copy of this trident. It would have cost about 5 cents to chuck that in the package. And I suspect what McFarlane is doing is saying, well, there's only one trident in the movie and it's King Kordax's. And so if you want Black Manta to have the trident, you need to buy the full wave, or at least King Kordax, which I don't really like that if that's the intention behind it, but I'm not going to speculate. I don't know what goes into these decisions. But in any event, Black Manta, King Kordax, I assume they share a scene together in the movie. And, you know, if they do, I'm sure it'll look really cool because these two figures look really good together. Yeah, you know, the same things that I said about Kordax with the sculpt and the paint and the articulation are similarly applicable to Black Manta. So two cool figures, and here's how they look together. So that's it, King Kordax. In summing up, I think this is a really good figure. The only drawback, I think, is that perhaps many people won't have an attachment to the character or the design. Maybe after the movie we'll feel more strongly about it. Some people would have preferred, I'm sure, a more accurate comic book Kordax, but that's, you know, obviously not what we're getting for the movie, so it makes sense. But if you look at this as a standalone product, you know, objectively, it's very good. The sculpt is incredible. The paint's decent for a McFarlane, you know, $20 figure. The accessories are what you would expect. You get the trident, which is sort of what you need, and I don't know what else you would need. I wish it had jaw articulation or an open mouth. I think would have given a lot more personality to the figure. But other than that, like, I can't really fault it. It's my least favorite of the entire wave because of the lack of emotional attachment to the design. But objectively, this is maybe the most impressive figure. Like, you're getting the most plastic out of any figure. Definitely the most detailed, unique tooling. You know, he's big, he's heavy, he's cool. Maybe get this if you're kind of a big fan of the design, if you just want a cool monster for your action figure shelf. If you see the movie and like the character, you want to pick this one up. Don't discount him out of hand, and always remember that if you get him, you will have the opportunity to give the trident to Black Manta as well. So there's another reason you might want to get King Kordax if you otherwise weren't planning on it. Anyway, that's all from me, and in the meantime, happy collecting, and thank you for watching.